Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first session of JEFCO negotiations for the 24-25 school year. We are happy to have everyone this evening, both here in person as well as those joining us online. Before we get started with our conversation this evening, we do have on the screen a draft agenda that we've been working on. We have discussed potentially shifting items 2 and 3 to be the norms part first, and then our interests and solutions conversation second, big picture, of course. And before we do that, we do want to go around the room and introduce each team member from both the JEFCO and JESPA side. And so I am happy to start. So if everyone could simply state their name, their role, and I think just how long you've been in JEFCO, that would be great. So my name is Amanda Parazio. I am the Chief Human Resources Officer in JEFCO, and I have been in JEFCO for 20 years. This is year 20. And we will go left.
Okay. No pressure. Hi, my name is Mark Strelo. I am the Director of Custodial Services. Been in the department for 23 years.
Hello. Hi, I'm Mike Hins. I'm the Director of Fleet Services. I've been with the district 15 years.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Jeter. I am Director of Resources for Food Nutrition Services, and this is about to be my 4th year in January.
My name is Brandon Rood. I've worked with JEFCO Public Schools since 2002. Sorry. Title, I'm the manager for the Emergency Services Dispatch Center.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vicki Flores. I'm the executive director, so I'm staff for JESPA, and I've been on and off with JESPA for, I think, 9 years total.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Beestrom. I am a paraeducator at Sobeski Academy, and I've been in JEFCO for 18 years.
My name is Xander Kashub. I'm the president of JESPA. I'm a food service worker by trade. I've been here for 8 years.
Technologically not good. My name is Darcy Hassler. I'm a paraprofessional at Betty Adams Elementary, and I've been with the district for 18 years. Oh, and I'm the bargaining chair.
Oh. Hi, I'm Nikki Saunders. I'm the health tech at Seacrest Elementary. This is my 11th year in the district.
Sarah Smith, preschool, 27 years at the district, all preschool.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Goodkin. I'm one of the directors for special education, and I believe this is my 15th year in the district.
Hi, I'm Jen Christensen. I am the Director of Labor Relations, and I have been in the district for 18 years.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Tanya Lopez. I'm a Director of Professional Learning. This is my 3rd year in JEFCO.
I'm Sue-Ann Holly. I'm the Director of Early Learning, and this is my 26th year in JEFCO.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the first time. We've all gotten used to using these new microphones, right? They're a little bit delayed, so we apologize, those of you who are in the audience or those of you who are watching online, if it takes us a minute or two to catch up. So we are hoping, just so everyone is aware, I'm the chairperson for JEFCO, and Darcy, like she said, is the chairperson for JESPA. And so Darcy and I intend to work together to facilitate anytime that we do not have a neutral facilitator in the room. And so Darcy and I will just be tag teaming back and forth. And our intent this evening, thank you to whoever already flipped our agenda, is to go through the agenda as we have set, and we'll begin with our norms and our process. So the ways in which we will work together and the ways in which we will prepare in between times to show up ready for each other and ready to present information, share data, etc., all of the things. After we review norms and our processes, we will go into identifying our interests and potential solutions, potential articles that are connected to interests. So each team will have the opportunity to do that. At the end, we may discuss joint communication. So Vicki and I had a conversation around using an AI tool to record our meeting and potentially give us a summary as well as a transcript. And so I am recording on my iPad. It's a district-owned iPad, just so everyone's aware. This is not my personal iPad. And I'm using a tool called Otter AI. And if that works well, we'll continue with it. And if it does not work well, we will go back to a note taker or some other form. And so as soon as that recording sends me the transcript as well as it sends a summary, it's kind of like an outline, and then it also sends next steps, which is really helpful. I'll send that directly to your team, and we can decide if we liked it or if we want to do something different. And then we will hopefully start to set our agenda for December 17th, which is our session 2 weeks from now. It's a daytime session, so noon to 4 instead of evening session. But I do want to acknowledge and appreciate everyone who is working after hours this evening on both sides of our teams, as well as those who are watching from wherever they might be this evening. So let's go ahead and get started with our norms and process work. So I believe Xander has found last year's norms that we might be able to anchor to. Certainly everyone is familiar, everyone who works in a school district is often familiar with norms because we work on teams. We do a lot of collaborative effort. And so norms are typically the way in which we agree to show up and engage in the work. So it's a little bit different than process. Process is more how we do the work and, for example, how we're going to redline. Are we going to create a shared folder, etc. And so norms is where we will get started. And maybe Xander has found.
There they are.
Perfect.
Well, I can read through them if
Please.
you'd like to. So these are actually, I think these are from 2 years ago, just so we're clear. So we have, we will create a positive culture of trust, respect, and collaboration by remaining present, focused, and engaged, being hard on issues, not on people, presuming with positive intent, asking clarifying questions, listening for understanding, having one person talk at a time, giving equal time and airspace for each side of the table, being objective, having collective perspectives in the room, referring to the preamble and Thrive values when needed. Both parties are equals at the table. How does that feel for everybody here? Anything to add?
Does anybody have any questions or want to request examples or clarity of what that might look like? Feel free to click your button and wait for your green light and speak up.
I know at a planning meeting, Amanda, you were talking about turning our name tags because it says one person talking at a time. Is that something that we would like to do as opposed to look at each other and then go?
Right. I love that, Darcy. I mean, so just so everyone's aware, one thing that we do in our other bargaining team is we just put our name tag up, and whoever is facilitating typically recognizes that person after the conversation is paused. And then, so is that helpful? Is everyone okay with that? Is that annoying and you'd rather just raise your hand? All right. Yeah. Sounds good. You guys okay with that? All right. So if anybody has a question about any of the norms Xander just read, please flip your name tag. We'll practice.
For anyone who's not aware, the preamble exists at the front of our CBA. So if we want to refer to that, it's in the beginning of our contract. Yeah, page 5.
So can we, is it okay, can we just go through these one by one and make sure that, so the first one, remaining present, focused, and engaged. I assume everyone knows what that looks like, right? Everyone on screen and here in the room knows that we have our laptops in front of us, not because we're doing other work, but because we are referencing notes, we're referencing the bargaining agreement. We are oftentimes on a Teams meeting, so everyone is aware. When we're on the Teams meeting, we are using that to share our screen. People aren't joining us via Teams. It's not an open link. They are using our YouTube live stream in order to observe the session. If ever it becomes necessary for somebody to join via Teams, is that something you've done in the past and you're okay with that? Or like if you had a member who wanted to share a story, is that something that you have done? And totally up to you.
If people are sharing, they're usually here so you can actually see rather than the two-dimensional.
Perfect. So I would assume then if somebody was coming and they were sick, potentially we move that agenda item. Would that make sense?
If that were the case, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I certainly want to be flexible to members who aren't able to come in person. So if ever that changes, please don't hesitate to let us know that would be helpful for your team too. So present, focused, and engaged, I don't think any of us have questions about. Being hard on issues and not on people, that's a really typical norm when it comes to bargaining, right? We're talking about really hard things, and we're talking about things that people are often either holding people accountable to or being held accountable for. And sometimes that can be challenging. And so I really appreciate that this was a norm that you had on your previous conversation as well. Presuming positive intent, I think that's really important, right? Always knowing that people are showing up with the best of intentions. Clarifying questions. I love that. I think that, Darcy, I really appreciate what you said around let's use a particular process and practice around clarifying questions when we have them. Listening for understanding, that's one of my favorites, right? Active listening. I think oftentimes as human beings, we listen to respond instead of listening to understand. I think that staying curious is really an underlying theme between those last two bullets. So when we ask clarifying questions, it's because we have a curiosity, hopefully not because we have an assumption. And listening to understand certainly is creating that curiosity in our minds. So having one person talk at a time, super helpful, love that. It also works better when we are being recorded, that only one person is talking at a time. Equal airtime and airspace, thank you for that, Norm. Just out of curiosity, do you have an interest in, or do you want to do any type of timer, or do you feel like we will be able to manage that? For example, you all know that when we're at the board meetings, they have the 15-minute timer when you are a group, or the 12-minute, I can't even tell you how many minutes it is, or the 2-minute timer when you're an individual. Do you feel like that's necessary?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so either. I just wanted to make sure. Being objective. Can you say more about that one, Xander, and how that one kind of developed?
I could, I think. That's a difficult one, though, a little bit. Let me just wrap my head around why we said that in the first place. Anyone want to help with that? Thank you, Darcy. Scrap it.
I can help if you need, but it was more of keeping it to the point, again, the issue, not the person. So not being subjective, not attacking the person, keeping it more of a broad base. I mean, this is language applicable to everyone.
That's helpful. Would you also say that it might be related to potentially like data versus an opinion? like when I think about subjectivity, I often think like that's my opinion that I'm sharing about something. When I think objective, it's more like, I don't know, data-based, or there's less of an opinion that's involved. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we all have opinions about all the things.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that's exactly what we're driving at.
Okay. Do you feel like we need more description on this norm? Do you feel like we need this norm?
I think it's a little redundant with like going back on being hard on issues, not on people. So I think maybe taking this out. I was struggling because I think we show up with real things that are happening in our buildings, in our schools, on our buses. And so it's hard to remove the subjectivity from the things we're talking about at the table because we're dealing with people. Right. And we all have different experiences. And so it tends to become subjective at times. And so I think being strict about this one would maybe do a disservice to what we're trying to accomplish here. So I would move to strike that from the norms.
Yeah, I think just the fact that we're struggling to really define it without using some of the other norms. Does anybody have any disagreement to taking that norm off? Okay. Collective perspectives in the room. Can you say more about that one?
So tying that into what Xandra was saying previously, the issues that we're bringing up is because there seems to be some kind of, I'll use the word problem, that has bubbled up that we're trying to solve here in this room. So even though it might be one story, it is multiple circumstances. So that's why we're saying it's collective, even though it might be one story of one case. It is not an individual thing that we're bringing to the table. It's something that is repeated. And so just making sure that that's understood.
Yeah, that's helpful. Because certainly the collective bargaining agreement applies to all, and it's really broad because you have so many different, almost like associations within associations, like sub-associations. And so that's really helpful to talk about the collective versus just like the individual one-off issues. Certainly we agree that writing language around one situation that's only happened one time in the history of Jeffco is not always the best approach, and so we appreciate the collective perspectives. Referring to the preamble and Thrive's values, do we feel like we need to put in the Thrive's values? Are they in the preamble?
They are not, because they are more recent than the preamble. These were handed out, and I can share if need be.
Very helpful.
Stick it up on the wall.
Yeah, and maybe we even take the little picture of that, the graphic, and we put it right into our norms. That might be helpful just for people to have reference to. We can even copy and paste the preamble if you'd like, just so that people can reference it. And then both parties are equals at the table. Do you want to say more about that? When you say equals, as far as like equal time to share, equal time to...
Equal footing.
Okay, helpful. Makes sense to me.
So I'm just going to pick on Mark because he's across from me. He may be the director of custodial. I know we're not supposed to attack people, but so he may be the director of custodial, but at this session, his opinion is valued as much as mine as a paraprofessional.
Thank you.
That's what equals at the table is.
Very helpful. And vice versa, right? Totally. As well as our guests. I would think that we would afford that and offer that same outreach to our guests, that their opinion and that their willingness to come and share at the table is treated as an equal voice and representative as well. Okay. Any other norms that we would want to add?
I think it might be important to call out just what's required in our negotiations process is bargaining in good faith. And so we've added that to our norms in the past. I think we did last year. I could be wrong.
Does everyone understand what bargaining in good faith means?
And I think some of that's already covered, not all of it, but again, presuming positive intent, working to the betterment of the district for the benefit of the students, right? Not hiding things, not trying to come up with gotchas.
I'm going to read it straight from your agreement. It says, good faith bargaining refers to the duty of the parties to meet and negotiate at reasonable times with willingness to reach agreement on matters within the scope of representation. Another definition, good faith bargaining means entering into discussions with an open and fair mind and a sincere purpose to find a basis for agreement, being prepared for a full, free, and rational discussion of issues, and the willingness to make best efforts to reach a negotiated agreement. It does not compel either party to agree or make concessions on a specific issue. So, I mean, some of the violations of good faith bargaining might be something as simple as regressive bargaining, so agreeing to something and then backpedaling and saying, actually, we need to do this differently because something new happened, right? So that's something that we want to avoid, is any type of regressive bargaining. And we also want to be honest, open, and flexible with each other. As an example, last year, we agreed to, not on this table, at a different table, we agreed to an article and then realized the impact on another article. One thing that you all have been very transparent with me as I learn this process different than our partner process is that a lot of the issues span multiple articles. And so please know that we are not inflexible or unreasonable people. And so if ever that happens, we can have a conversation about what does that look like if we missed something in somewhere that we already agreed to and we just figured it out, right? If we need to do a language cleanup or that kind of thing, we are amenable to those conversations. Any other things that we would want to add? Any other norms?
Is this where we wanted to talk about how we redline and just the naming conventions, where we're going to save files, et cetera?
I think so. I think we move right into process after we are totally good on the green language. Everyone sees that as green, right? Just making sure. Who knows? All right. If there are no other norms, we can certainly move forward. And if you agree, if at any time we feel as though a norm needs to be revisited or added, we can certainly come back to them, revisit them, have a conversation online, offline about our experience. And I would actually encourage both teams that if you feel as though a norm is being violated, don't hesitate to speak up, either during the session or with your leadership after the session, so that we can have that conversation, because certainly we want to adhere to the norms and we want to be held accountable, and hopefully you feel that same way. All right. Are we ready to move into process? Okay, walk us through, Darcy.
I was just going to say, moving on to process. You have proposed in conversation having a shared folder. I would like to hear more about how you see that functioning. I have some concerns, but maybe they will be eliminated with that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to pull up our shared folder that we have with a partner association, just so that I can tell you exactly what's in it. Let's see. So inside of our shared folder with JCEA, we keep things like agendas. So this agenda that we emailed to you, instead of emailing it, we would drop it into a shared folder. So our shared folder is called district/JCEA. Obviously, in this case, it would be district/JESPA negotiations 24-25. And so inside of that folder, what we would propose is that we have an agenda folder that keeps each one of our agendas, that we would have a link to all of the articles that are pulled out of the CBA individually. This is something that Jen has worked on, each year, so that we are all using the appropriate format for the article, which is helpful for when Jen puts it all back together to create the whole CBA and then print it off in the nice format that we have. We don't have to use that. It's helpful for Jen, and it doesn't always work out. And so what we do is we use that as our clean articles, and then we would make a copy and we would redline our copy. Then we'd put it back into a folder called Redlines. And then you would make a copy, you would redline your copy, and then we'd put it back into that folder when we're sharing it back and forth. But when we're working on the article, that's not shared, right? So in between times, so that we aren't spying on what you're doing and you're not spying on what we're doing and making assumptions about each other's interests, we're actually just working on those on our own and then putting them back into the shared folder. We also have a TA folder, so anytime we reach agreement on an article, we tentatively agree upon that and we date it and put it right into a folder for access by either team afterwards. We also had a copy of our norms in here, and any presentations or data that is shared, we would drop that into each one of the article folders. So inside of Redlines, we had Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. And so if there was a presentation on Article 6, your compensation article, then we would put that presentation in for your reference afterwards.
And I'll just explain then my concerns about the share folder. Some struggles that came up last year was what was sent to us by email was not what was presented at the particular meeting. So I just have concerns on the share folder that what's in there is what's final and presented.
So the way we addressed that was in the agenda, let's say we are talking about Article 6. Article 6 would be one of our agenda items, and it would say who is presenting on it. Is it JESPA presenting, or is it JEFCO presenting? And then we would link the document, the shared document, the shared article with the red lines directly into that, so everyone at the table could access it, and then we'd show that exact version on the screen for the audience to be able to view. That's how we work through it, but I'm very flexible.
Okay, I think we need to meet as a team, short caucus, to figure that out, not right now, but later. And then you talked about redlining, and we have naming conventions. I don't know if you have naming conventions, but I wanted to make sure that that was clear on expectations.
Yeah, please.
So for instance, if it's, we'll just pick Article 6 because you brought that up. If it's JESPA article, it will be alpha, and then shared with you, and then it will still keep JESPA Article 6 alpha, and then the title will change to District Bravo, and then with your red lines back so we can track what has happened throughout, and then it would become JESPA Alpha, District Bravo, JESPA Charlie, with what our reactions are to your red lines and back and forth.
So we keep all of the words in the title?
Yep.
Okay.
Did we not keep all of them? Okay. My mistake. Thank you. Correction made.
Okay, so you use the same, it's the military alphabet? Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. Perfect. We're happy to use that.
Just so we can see
And if ever
still
we
the
name
one.
it inaccurately, please tell us. That happened last year, and then it got a little confusing. So, so yes, we're very amenable to using that alphabet.
Okay, because again, that's just clarification on redlining. So striking through what we want to strike through, and then added words will be in color, not highlighted.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't highlight any of the. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. No yellow
Again,
highlights.
Just clarification.
Do you, when you say strike through and words in color, do you use the suggesting feature in Google? Do you use the track changes feature in Microsoft Word, or something different?
And this was the back and forth between Microsoft and Google, and internally versus what we share. We share in Word, correct, with track changes.
We share in Word with track changes. Do we upload it to Google when we share it, or no?
Is the folder you're suggesting a Google folder or a Teams folder?
Whatever you say.
Would you rather have it in Word for Teams, Jen?
Actually, a Teams channel would be much easier than Google for me eventually, because moving Google to Word, then we have formatting issues. And so when we put it together via Word, it does make more sense to do it that way.
We're amenable.
Okay, we can, yeah, we can try that. I've never done that. I've never done a Teams Microsoft Word. I like it. It's great.
Try.
Okay, we can try it. All right, any other process pieces around articles? And so we have naming, we have track changes, we have Microsoft using Microsoft Word. What other things? Darcy, just for clarification, when we're tracking changes, so typically Microsoft just tracks them. You don't want us to actually change our color to say like this is a district change and this is a JESPA change.
That does make it more clear.
Okay. I think it will do that. I haven't used it for a while. And so we might have to do a practice run.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it does change the color so we can see it, but once we've gone back and forth a few times, it might get confusing, so we just need to make sure.
Perfect. Okay.
Can be revisited if it turns into an issue.
100%. Right? It can get messy. Anything else on those items? The next item you have on there is, or we have on there, is district and JESPA contacts.
So if we're not going to be sending things by email, but we're still going to share, I don't know, agendas, if we don't do the shared folder thing, how do we want that to happen? So the contacts then would be Xander, Vicky, and then bargaining team.
Okay.
Email as we have done before.
Okay.
And how would?
So if you would send them to Jen Christensen and myself, then we'll share them with our team via probably a Teams channel as well. And so, so if it becomes email, that works. If your team decides that you would like to try a Microsoft Teams channel, even for just a couple of sessions, we can certainly do that, and then pivot if needed. Yeah, if you'll send them to me and Jen.
Excellent, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Presentation and questions?
Amanda, may I
please
interrupt real quick? I haven't done my little Name tag.
So proud of you.
Also, I think we wanted to know contact information for caucus times, because sometimes we weren't sure if, we needed more time or if your side needed more time, who we needed to contact. Again, if we do the shared team channel, we can chat each other if needed, or would you like to exchange cell phone numbers?
I think we can sidebar and do it.
Totally. Yeah. And I didn't know, right, we can decide who you want to be the text person, if you want to text Jen and Jen texts you, or Vicki or whomever, and then we can share that information offline. Helpful. Presentation and questions. This was more around if we could just describe for both teams and the audience what it looks like to share an article, like an interest and a solution and redlining language and stories and all the things.
And we kind of did that with the agenda, right? So we're going to alternate whoever is presenting at the time. It will be posted up there. And I hate having things posted that we end up saying the exact same thirds and having you read, but that's my issue. It's not a team issue. When we have times, like I said, the agenda, we're going to go through our interests today. We will read them and post them and send. We're hoping that you can jot down questions and we'll just get through all our interests, because maybe some questions will be answered at that time. And then revisit questions afterwards. Same thing. You guys can present all your interests and solutions. We'll jot down questions so as to not interrupt the flow just for this, because it's just the high level, right? This is the 30,000 foot view. But when we're getting into language, then absolutely clarifying questions. Maybe jot down, let the person finish that idea, and then the clarifying questions and back and forth on that, because that's the nitty gritty and the detail of what we're going to be working on, as opposed to this evening is overall interests.
When you present language, do you have one person read through the entire article as it is revised?
Depending on how long the article is, usually we can skip some sections that aren't being addressed, but maybe if there's significant changes, then yes, reading through and explaining why we're making those changes is usually how we present.
Thank you. Do you always have a member of the bargaining team present? Do you ever have article writers that come to present?
We will have subcommittees come in and help support, as well as, I don't want to call them expert witnesses, but in trial it would be, a resident expert on whatever it is.
Okay. And then I assume that you answer questions that you're able to answer right then and there, and then otherwise, if ever there were need to go back and have a conversation, you might answer it later. Perfect.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Timing norms.
If there's a caucus needed, we'll say we need a 2-minute caucus, we need a 10-minute caucus, or we'll need a 20-minute caucus with the option to be able to text if it goes over. But yes, we like setting expected times with the opportunity for revision if something takes longer.
Perfect.
Or we're done earlier. Hey, are you ready?
Yeah, exactly. And then as typical, actually, now that we have some different times of sessions, certainly we'll always want to have a break, but sometimes we meet 8 to noon or noon to 4, which isn't necessarily during a meal time. What would you like that to look like? I mean, do you always want to take a meal break regardless?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if we're not in a meal time, maybe we don't need a meal break. Maybe we just the caucus timing.
Just work through.
Okay, perfect. We do have some sessions, so everyone knows, that are 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We have a few evening sessions. We have lots of different timings, and so I think we'll work that out. The evening sessions, I would assume you always do a dinner break.
For 4 to 8, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, any other process things you would want to bring up? Team, Darcy, anyone? Questions? Jen?
So I am looking at a process document or procedure document that was written last year and signed by both parties. And in here, it states a date the parties will respond to each other's initial proposals. Do we need to come up with that date to this evening? Like what date do we expect to make our first proposal? Next time?
I thought that's what we were expecting, going over interests
Today. Okay.
this evening.
Talking about written language, like when we come back after the.
That's what I'm thinking that means, yes.
I think just the nature of full contract this year, it's going to be, I mean, there's a lot to respond to, right? We're about to get into it tonight. So I don't want to put any unreasonable expectations on anybody to come back with a full thought out response to everything covered tonight. I don't know if that's fair for anyone sitting here at the table. So I think maybe after getting through tonight, we can maybe revisit that and see where we want to start chipping away at.
Perfect. And the other thing that was in here was JESPA will make its financial proposals no later than the meeting scheduled for, and we will make its financial proposals no later than a meeting scheduled in April as well. So I didn't know if we wanted to put something like that in there. And that's something we can talk about, but those are just things that we might want to.
So referring to that same document that Jen was just referring to, negotiations written procedures from last year, is that something that you would like us to draft and share with you after tonight's conversation? Do you know the document I'm referring to? Is this helpful? Not necessary?
I think this is helpful, and it could be our first thing that we bargain. If we have any changes, we can redline it and send it back.
Sure.
But it looks helpful.
Would that be okay with it if we drafted that and sent that to you? Matter of fact, we can attempt to share it with you if that is, if you agree to that later on. Okay. We shall do this. All right. I think we're ready.
Anything else on norms and processes?
I don't think so.
I just wanted to say a little bit more about caucus times. And just so you all know, we try to be efficient in bargaining. So we don't want to belabor points, but if we don't feel like we're being heard, you might hear more from us so that you understand why we're interested in something. And we try to be transparent about, this is something that's really important. Here's where we want to work with you, all of those things. So we try to be efficient and open and transparent in how we communicate at the table, and recognize that in traditional bargaining, as we're working on language, that caucuses can take a long time, that a lot of bargaining work is done away from the table. And it can kind of be frustrating even for our audience or each other if you're waiting on something and we're working on something and there's only one thing left. So just knowing that a lot of the work at bargaining isn't happening here with the discussion.
Absolutely. Completely agree. All right, I'm going to jump into then JESPA's interests and solutions. I do want to say that we're missing a couple of our bargaining team members, and as I stated earlier, we will occasionally have alternates or subcommittees come in at the appropriate times, and I think that was covered in what was just shown as well. So I just wanted to make sure we had that point. Our goal is to create an educational environment where all staff, including educational support professionals, ESPs, play a key role in fostering an inclusive and responsive community that promotes excellence. By focusing staffing decisions on student needs and well-being, they can achieve more because of our stronger, more consistent relationships that support a thriving, equitable education in Jeffco. The value of ESPs is illustrated by the respect shown to our workforce for our essential contributions and investments in our growth. Recognizing that our people are our strength and our operations are our foundation, we seek to discuss solutions in the following areas of safety, staffing, benefits, and respect for ESPs. These will ultimately give the needed advantages to our students, who are our future. Our fundamental interests in safety, staffing, benefits, and respect promote job stability for our members while ensuring financial efficiency in the district. And this aligns with the Jeffco Thrives 2025 major initiatives. We seek to build community across centralized services and articulation areas through a culture of trust and belonging based on shared values and modernized business practices. By focusing on respectful and safe staffing practices, we can improve consistency of service and provide students with an extraordinary learning experience, working towards our goal of a world-class education. We're then going to ping pong around through and get into specifically what it is we're talking about with that overview. First off, Vicki, can you blow that up so it's more than oh, perfect. Read my mind. Interest in updated and clear definitions. This will be Article 1 in the contract. Our interest is we must have clearer definitions for understanding requirements. Our interests include clearly defined terminology, including updates related to new language negotiated, as well as current practice. Clear and consistency in definitions. A little background, some lines have been blurred in what appears to be an exploitation of certain workers to exclude them from our bargaining unit, while on the other hand, outsourced workers, as well as those outside the bargaining unit, are performing our job duties and getting paid more than the bargaining unit members. We must clearly define the bargaining unit to hourly employees in Jeffco for simplification and equity. So solutions that we would like to bring, we must clearly define the bargaining unit to hourly employees in Jeffco for simplification and equity. Update definitions and language in other articles as agreed upon, because this article is just definitions. Define the bargaining unit and bargaining unit work, our bargaining unit work. Revise the definition of grievance to include district, department, and policy violations. Last year we went round and round on administrator versus direct supervisor. I think we need to dig into that again, and then the other updates that come about as we continue this process.
Okay, so this would be kind of falling under Article 2. So recognition, bargaining units, and association rights. Our interest is to protect the rights of JESPA members while clarifying the recognition clause. addressing outsourcing concerns, and ensuring dues collection and officer release time. So some solutions for that interest. A clear union recognition clause. Integrate existing outsourcing language in Article 2 and Article 6 into a combined article on staffing and bargaining unit work, including protections and processes around outsourcing. Establish a 60 calendar day timeline for dues updates. Improve the release time provision by adding a second JESPA release position. Ensure ratios, policies, and handbook updates are in line with the law and the contract. Ratios, department policies, and updates that affect the agreement must be negotiated.
So negotiations process. We have our interest is to establish streamlined and efficient bargaining processes, including a multi-year agreement, traditional trading of proposals, and binding fact-finding for disputes. To ensure there are times of labor peace following negotiations and reduce yearly bargaining. Solutions would be a longer contract term without reopeners, for example, a 3-year agreement term. Formalize the process of exchanging written proposals through traditional process and update bargaining timelines, including reopeners.
Transfers and hiring. This is Articles 14 and 4. Our interest is to ensure equitable and transparent hiring and transfer processes with safeguards for current employees and new hires, a streamlined hiring process to attract new employees, and staffing processes that retain employees. Some of those solutions are to introduce a bidding period for voluntary transfers with school or departments before triggering hiring, district paid background checks and fingerprints for all hires, prohibit bargaining unit positions with fewer than 4-hour per day shifts and set staffing minimums, establish a clear and specific hiring process to include flow chart and checklist of responsibilities to ensure all ESPs are adequately prepared on their first day of employment for students and emergencies. And for our bilingual, that is articles, it affects Articles 6 and 4. Our interest is for all bilingual employees of JEFCO to be compensated for their skills and be treated with the respect and dignity they deserve. To achieve this, a bilingual committee of JESPA members should be established to collaborate with the district on policy implementation and collective bargaining agreement language. Some solutions are to increase bilingual pay and ensure it is an ongoing adjustment, not a one-time benefit. Expand bilingual pay eligibility to all ESPs, including speakers of less common languages and ASL. Eliminate restrictive requirements, such as needing to perform bilingual duties outside of job responsibilities or supervisor approval. Limit bilingual school requirements to oral and conversational abilities, ensuring fair and accessible evaluations. Provide accessible bilingual testing and involve the committee in a test development oversight. Allow pay eligibility for bilingual skills to assist anyone during the workday, including students, parents, coworkers, and community members. Prevent the use of translation services or technology as a method to bypass compensating eligible workers.
Leaves, Articles 5, 8, and Appendices A through D. Our interest is to reflect the needs of employees by enhancing leave policy opportunities, as well as using it as a possible strategy for recruitment and retention. Possible solutions: clarify the district's opt-in, opt-out status under family and how to access benefits. Ensure that employees have sufficient opportunities for hours to qualify under FMLA. Change to a one-time opt-in for the sick leave bank with the option to opt out during benefits enrollment. Establish clear parity for leave entitlements and accrual between part-time, full-time, school-based, and year-round employees. Move holidays from Article 5 to Article 8. Clarifying the holiday schedule and adding winter break as paid holidays. 4 days were there, have been removed. And lastly, clarify all use of all types of leaves. I know that's a lot to digest because we did leaves last year, but got issues still.
Evaluations, Article 9. Our interest is to clarify and update the evaluations process. Solutions would be to ensure that ESPs are receiving sufficient feedback on an annual basis. Housekeeping updates on this article. Standardized evaluations process. Evaluations are to be constructive and supportive and not to be used for disciplinary purposes. Evaluations are subject to the grievance procedure.
Moving into corrective action, Article 10. Our interest is to ensure fairness and consistency in application of corrective action procedures. It should be a teaching opportunity and part of the growth process. Avoid overly punitive actions, as well as having more than 2 administrators at a corrective action meeting. This will reduce the perception of bullying and intimidation. So our solutions: simplify the corrective action process and align with principles of equity and fairness. Ensure consistency in applying discipline with the punishment fitting the infraction. And I shouldn't use that word punishment because we just talked about it being a teaching opportunity. So the consequence, the improvement, and then prohibition of more than 1 administrator present in a corrective action meeting. Moving on to grievance procedure.
Can I clarify something over here? There's just a little bit of a conflict there, I think, because of a typo. So this was having more than 1, not more than 2. This was the actual solution presented. This says 2, this says 1. So we'll fix that. 1. Yep, 1 is correct.
Thank you for the clarification. Moving on to grievance procedure updates, Article 12. Our interest is to transform the grievance process into a transparent, fair, and efficient mechanism focused on resolving conflicts constructively. A revamped procedure should reflect a problem-solving culture rather than an adversarial one, ensuring mutual accountability and neutrality throughout the procedure and process. Establish pre-grievance resolution step and update the grievance process to include timelines. Revise the definition of grievance. Create accountability measures for missed timelines. Adhere to neutrality in grievance handling. Clarity in roles and processes for relevant parties. And timely information sharing.
Next is transportation, Article 13. Our interest is to ensure fairness in workload distribution, safety, and compensation for transportation staff. Solutions would be to define and differentiate extra duty assignments from permanent positions, establish minimum hours for routes and bidding procedures based on seniority with a larger ratio of full-time routes available, create a transportation safety committee for continuous improvements and safety practices, clarify brake policies to ensure compliance with law and contract when on a route, guarantee restroom access, clarify the liaison committee roles and responsibilities, and limits on rideshare contracts.
Next, we'll talk about professional development. That affects Articles 14 and 4. Our interest is for JESPA and the JEFCO Professional Development Committee to be truly representative of all job titles and lived employee experience, as well as for all ESPs to receive and be compensated for relevant professional development that promotes their growth and strengthens their careers. Some solutions are to provide CPR and first aid training for all employees, offer job-specific training for positions such as food service, custodial staff with additional pay for trainers, provide ongoing professional development opportunities throughout the year, expand the JESPA and JEFCO Professional Development Committee to include representatives from all locals and department heads, ensure the committee meets more frequently, and establish clearly defined goals and timelines. Create a more accurate ESP workday calendar that includes defined professional development days scheduled in advance. Update and continually develop training specific in all job titles. Make paid certifications available for ESPs. Allot paid time necessary for completing all training and certifications. Require the district to cover the cost of all training, continuing education, and related requirements. Improve communication from the district to all ESPs regarding professional development opportunities and the requirements.
That brings us to preschool, Article 15. Our interest is to ensure that preschools operate effectively and collaboratively by creating a unified team teaching environment. ECIPs, who are the educational or early childhood instructional partner, they're essential to preschool operations, as classrooms cannot open without their participation. To support this, ECIPs must complete rigorous professional development, curriculum training, district training, and meet Colorado state licensing requirements, qualifying them to work alongside the licensed classroom teachers. In addition, ECIs, who are early childhood instructors, we work in the classroom without a licensed teacher. They take on responsibilities typically performed by licensed teachers, including participating in professional learning communities, PLCs, and conducting student assessments. We aim to elevate and acknowledge the critical role of ECIs, ensuring their contributions are fully recognized and supported through proper training, equitable compensation, and an updated classification system that reflects their advanced qualifications and responsibilities. The solutions would be to require all ECIPs to attend all curriculum training to build a unified classroom, to compensate ECIs doing licensed teacher work, to elevate the wage schedule to reflect the amount of training and licensing requirements needed to qualify and to be counted in the classroom ratio of 1 to 10 students, to reclassify the ECIP and ECI positions, differential pay for any ECIP in a classroom with a substitute for the duration, to establish a minimum number of preschool advisory committee members and allow for the addition of more members through a mutual agreement between JESPA and the district.
Moving on to food service, which is Article 16. Our interest is to ensure proper training, staffing, and operational accountability in order to re-professionalize our food service workforce. Solutions for that would be to require at least 2 training days for new hires before assignment to a kitchen, conduct ongoing training using real-time scenarios to build expertise, compensate managers for acting as on-site trainers, and incentivize skilled trainers. Establish staffing ratios based on meals per labor hour and negotiate MEQ standards. Establish professional standards and the expansion of scratch cooking kitchens. Offer nutrition education and eliminate the sale of junk food. Maintain strict waste reduction standards and operationalize the food service pilot. So the next is custodial, which would be a new article. There's not a custodial article currently in the CBA. The interest would be to improve safety, staffing, and compensation for custodial staff. Solutions would be to introduce hazard premiums for work during extreme weather or hazardous conditions, ensure adequate job descriptions for FMs that encompass more than building square footage, including enrollment of students, and outdoor space and conditions. Ensure adequate staffing levels to meet workload demand. Define staffing ratios for custodians based on clearly defined parameters that encompass more than solely building square footage.
We have a new article on safety. Our interest is to ensure that all ESPs are safe in any situation that occurs during their workday by establishing a robust system of support and preparedness. This includes providing comprehensive safety training to all staff, regardless of their hire date, on building site safety protocols so they are equipped to protect themselves and others during emergencies. Effective and transparent communication about emergency needs and student safety concerns is essential for maintaining a secure environment where all stakeholders can stay safe throughout the school day. Additionally, we seek to implement consistent structures for student accountability following unsafe incidents and ensuring that our most vulnerable students receive the staffing levels and resources necessary to maintain a safe environment for staff and other students alike. Our solutions for communication is to establish clear protocols for sharing critical safety and student-related information among all relevant staff. For training, provide consistent and comprehensive safety training, including but not limited to emergency response, first aid, de-escalation techniques, school shooter protocols, etc. for all ESP staff. For staffing and workload, conduct audits to ensure appropriate staffing levels, ensure appropriate student supportive staffing levels. For policy standardization, standardize district-wide protocols for handling accidents, emergencies, and safety incidents. Develop consistent district-wide safety policies and accountability measures for unsafe staff and students. Parameters around outsourcing. Prioritize direct district employment for safety-sensitive roles to ensure proper training and accountability. Implement accountability measures to contractors to ensure they are held accountable to the same standards as district employees. Contractors must arrive trained by their company. Next one is staffing and outsourcing, which is also new. Our interest is to build a culture of values, trust, and belonging, and to modernize business practices and systems. Our interest is to promote job stability for our members, which then provides consistency in learning for our students. Our interest is to center staffing decisions around the needs and well-being of students so we can cultivate stronger, more consistent relationships that are essential for a thriving Jeffco community. Solutions: extra duty pay for bargaining unit work shortages. For example, in situations where ESPs are directed to work outside their standard job classification or at a non-assigned work site to cover staff shortages, they would receive extra duty pay. This pay should be set at 20% of the guest teacher rate per hour, acknowledging the additional responsibilities and contributions of our ESPs in these circumstances. Staffing ratios and minimum hours. We seek to establish appropriate staffing ratios across all job families. Additionally, we propose implementing equitable workdays and hours for school year calendar ESPs, aligning them with the teacher calendar. The majority of positions should be a minimum of 6 hours, inclusive of benefits, and incorporate essential training and planning time. Incorporate summer work into dedicated year-round positions that earn the same benefits as year-round employees and comply with EPA WA and the CBA. We can also establish a process to determine ratios separate from SBB Article 2-1-7-2. Provide clarity around open positions by posting complete information, including location, hours, benefits, and job descriptions. Another solution is to conduct job description audits. Restricting the unauthorized transfer, reclassification, or subcontracting of bargaining unit work without prior negotiation and agreement. This measure aims to prevent job displacement and ensure job security for current employees. And the employer must demonstrate that all internal staffing options have been exhausted before considering outsourcing. Last one, respect. The interest is that all employees in this bargaining unit are considered valuable partners in the Jeffco Public School District and as such shall be treated with respect and dignity. Our solutions are no disparaging comments shall be made to any employee or about any employee. Discipline and or reprimands of employees shall not be administered in front of other bargaining unit employees except in cases where an employee requests a witness or union representative, or where another employee is present for translation purposes with the permission of the individual receiving the discipline. Discipline shall be administered in a professional manner, and ESPs must be valued partners and offered seats on school or district level committees.
So we do have a pay and benefits interest as well, and I know we spoke a little bit before about doing this later, but we're going to go ahead and read our interest about pay and benefits. So our interest is to ensure fair and competitive compensation, affordable healthcare plans, and enhanced fringe benefits for all employees, reflecting the critical role we play in supporting the district's mission while addressing the need to attract and retain top talent. Improvements to wages and fringe benefits are essential for recruiting and retaining a skilled, dedicated workforce and fostering a supportive, equitable workplace environment that prioritizes both employee well-being and organizational success. So for fair and competitive compensation, ensure wages align with market benchmarks through consistent review and adjustments to the wage schedule, establishing clear processes to review job classifications and compensation for evolving roles and demands. Support career growth with predictable step increases and recognition for longevity without gaps in the schedule. Overhaul the preschool wage schedule for clarity and equity with the JUSPA wage schedule and aligning it with the market. Add hazard pay for employees working in hazardous conditions such as extreme weather. Ensure all employees are reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses for the supplies, equipment, and PPE to do their jobs. Implement fill-in pay for every hour of work done outside of your job classification, including ESPs subbing for teachers. First check sooner, 13 pay, bi-monthly pay, twice monthly pay. We really want that. So you can tell. Affordable and accessible healthcare, equitable contributions from the district that are percentage-based, reduce costs for employees while maintaining quality coverage, prioritize reduced deductibles and out-of-pocket costs for employees without sacrificing the scope or quality of medical benefits. Adhere to the BAC MOU and follow BAC recommendations process for bargaining health insurance in a manner that values employees. Reduce the FTE required to qualify for benefits to part-time employees. And enhanced fringe benefits and workplace supports. Improve benefits that directly impact employee well-being and productivity, including leave policies and increased access to the Employee Assistance Program. Add fringe benefits like free meals in the school cafeteria and free childcare in before and after school programs. So that's it for our interest in solutions. So as we're wrapping up, we want to be clear. ESPs are worth the investment. We're skilled professionals who ensure the success of Jeffco's students. Our work is essential, and our contributions strengthen not just our schools, but also the broader community that we serve. Addressing the issues of safety, staffing, benefits, respect, everything that we have named, it's not just about fairness, it's about ensuring the long-term stability and effectiveness of our workforce. When ESPs are supported with the resources, compensation, and recognition we deserve, we can deliver the consistent, high-quality services that our students rely on to thrive. We look forward to collaborating and continuing the discussions, and we want to ensure that the contributions of ESPs are valued as a fundamental part of Jeffco's future.
So I know that was a lot to digest. And I saw taking notes, which is great. We can address questions later. Do we want to take a caucus? Have we reached our limit of information overload and exchange numbers and how to get done at caucus? Do you want to dive back in?
Sure. I was going to ask you the same thing. If you wanted to take a break before we share our interest statements, or if you wanted to hear them before the caucus, I'm flexible.
Okay. The rest of my team is ready.
All right. So just to prepare you, our interest statements are literally interest statements. We don't have all of our solutions outlined in the way that you did, mostly because I am not 100% familiar with the way in which you have done the interest and solutions. However, please expect to hear our solutions as we redline articles and provide language throughout negotiation season. And certainly if there are questions that we can answer around these interest statements, after you've had an opportunity to digest them as well, we're more than happy to further describe what we can describe. Jen, I put a link inside of our shared folder to a Microsoft Word document that I think you'll be able to access. I was practicing using Word instead of Google. I'm sorry, I put it into our Teams folder. It says District Interest Statements 12/3/24. Thank you. All right, so we too have identified our interests by article. And so we will certainly share the link to this afterwards as well, so that you can digest this as a team and formulate any questions that you might have. So first of all, with regard to Article 1, definitions, the district bargaining team seeks to ensure that Article 1 provides clear, comprehensive, and mutually understood definitions that serve as the foundation for effective collaboration and operational clarity. By ensuring precise terminology, we aim to minimize misunderstandings and support consistent application of the agreement across all departments. Our goal is to create a shared understanding of language that reflects the needs and interests of both parties, fostering a positive and productive working relationship. For Article 2, organizational rights, the district bargaining team values fostering a collaborative, transparent, and respectful relationship with JESPA, grounded in mutual understanding and shared goals. Our interest in this article is to ensure organizational rights are implemented in a manner that supports operational efficiency, supports continuity for students and staff, and maintains clear communication protocols. We aim to balance the association's rights with the district's ability to manage resources and deliver quality educational services while respecting legal and contractual obligations. The goal is to maintain a partnership that enhances workplace harmony and aligns with the district's mission to serve students effectively. With Article 4, work assignments. The district bargaining team recognizes the importance of fair, transparent, and equitable work assignments and promotional practices that align with the district's values and operational needs. We are committed to a process that provides clear communication, fosters professional growth, and upholds employee rights while meeting the district's goal of hiring and retaining the best qualified candidates. With compensation, on Article 6, the district bargaining team recognizes that fair and competitive compensation is essential to attract, retain, and support a skilled and dedicated workforce. We value the contributions of all employees and aim to establish a compensation structure that is equitable, transparent, and reflective of employees' experience, skills, and longevity. Through collaboration, we aim to refine and enhance the policies outlined in Article 6 to support a high-performing and motivated workforce while ensuring alignment with the district's operational goals and budgetary constraints. On Article 7, benefits, the district recognizes the importance of supporting the health, well-being, and financial security of its employees through a comprehensive benefits package. In order to ensure access to vital healthcare and other essential benefits, the district provides a range of programs that meet the needs of employees. These benefits, which include medical, dental, and vision insurance, as well as disability and life insurance, reflect the district's commitment to the overall wellness of its staff. By offering these comprehensive benefits, the district affirms its commitment to a supportive, healthy, and stable work environment for all employees. With regard to Article 10, corrective action, the district bargaining team is committed to a fair and equitable process when addressing employee performance or behavior concerns. Our focus for Article 10 is to ensure that corrective actions are implemented in a manner that upholds employees' rights, promotes fair treatment, and fosters an environment of growth and improvement, highlighting due process and just cause, progressive discipline and performance management, employee development, and equitable treatment. With regard to Article 12, grievances, the district bargaining team recognizes the importance of a clear and structured grievance process that provides a fair, timely, and efficient method for resolving perceived violations of the agreement between employees and the district. This process is essential in maintaining a positive working environment and upholding the rights of all employees. Our primary interests in Article 10 are resolving concerns and issues at the lowest level, fair and accessible processes, timely resolution, access to information, and protection of employee rights. We are committed to ensuring that grievances are handled fairly, efficiently, and with respect for the rights of employees in order to maintain a productive and harmonious work environment. With regard to Article 13, transportation, the district bargaining team values the essential work performed by transportation employees and is committed to ensuring fair compensation, clear procedures, and support for professional development. Our key interests in Article 13 focus on the equitable treatment of transportation employees, fostering job stability, and maintaining transparency in the management of routes and responsibilities. We aim to maintain a safe work environment where transportation employees are fairly compensated, have stable work schedules, and have opportunities for professional growth and development. And finally, with regard to Article 16, food service, the district bargaining team is committed to supporting the essential work performed by food and nutrition services employees, ensuring that they are properly compensated, trained, and supported in their roles. Our key interests in Article 16 focus on promoting professional development, providing adequate resources and support, and ensuring a safe working environment for FNS employees. By addressing these key interests, we strive to maintain a positive, productive, and safe work environment for all food service employees. Sorry, I accidentally closed the tab. Didn't mean to. So I apologize. I intended to refer to the third section of our agenda. I felt like that statement that we had put in there around our goal, our collaborative goal, I thought was important and something I wanted to highlight. And I meant to read that ahead of time. I apologize. So our goal for these negotiations is to foster a collaborative and respectful process that leads to a fair and equitable agreement. We are committed to addressing the needs of our educational support professional staff while ensuring the district remains operationally efficient and financially sustainable. By working together, we aim to create outcomes that support staff safety and well-being, promote a positive work environment, and ultimately enhance the success of the students and communities we serve. So, as in Darcy's words, that was a lot to digest. That was a mouthful. And so, so thank you for your willingness to listen to what we had to share as well. And we are certainly ready for a break if you are.
Yes, we need to discuss the shared folder idea and how that's going to work, to give it a try, and sidebar to exchange numbers for the caucus. What are we thinking timeline? 20? 15? 20? Does that sound reasonable? Which would you prefer?
Can we do 20? If that's okay. And in the meantime, would you like to exchange this document via email? Would that be acceptable? The documents we just shared?
Each of us sending by email would be fantastic.
Perfect.
20 minutes, it's 5:35, so I'm going to round up to 6 o'clock.
Perfect.
Unless we text otherwise, and if you could hold back and we could exchange numbers.
And if we, when we return, what is our hope to accomplish before we close the session?
I believe the next thing on the agenda is a joint communication, and we can talk about that process and what we want it to be.
Sounds good. And one more question. Do you intend for us to set the agenda before we close this evening for December 17th?
For the 17th,
okay.
So we know expectations and what we're working towards.
Great. Thank you. I think, Brandon, we need you to push us offline.
And then any questions that we may have had on interests, if anything needs clarification, understanding that the details aren't there, but again, the 30,000-foot view.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we took a longer than anticipated break.
Nobody's got their audio on.
Make sure everyone is muted on the Teams channel. It's the Teams channel. Yeah, I think you're good. I think we're good now. Okay, no worries. So we appreciate everyone's patience. We had a conversation offline. Is everyone muted again? Okay. And so we wanted to come back to the table to finish out our agenda and also share some information that I think will help us to get to a better understanding in next steps. So, Darcy, are you okay if I go ahead with that, or do you want to do the agenda part first?
I'm okay with you going ahead with that.
Okay.
We'll discuss. That's fine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, I want everyone to know, both in the room and online, that the negotiation process is new to some of us. Specifically, this is my first time in the JESPA negotiations, and although we have had opportunities to observe in the past, we were hoping to start off on a different foot. And I would like to acknowledge that I made an error in an assumption, and which has caused us to have a little bit of a misunderstanding and need to redirect. So as you all might be aware, in other negotiations processes, oftentimes we have had the experience of sharing our interests, our stories, and our language. And so that is my misunderstanding of the way in which I was trying to adapt to this particular process. And so in our JESPA negotiations process, it is my absolute understanding that we share interests, potential solutions, and then we share language and potentially stories that go along with those interests, solutions, and new proposed language. So this evening, I did not bring potential solutions, and I would like to acknowledge that that is completely my misunderstanding and my mistake. I apologize to the team and to your membership specifically. I don't want you to think that was intentional at all. That was completely my misunderstanding. I do acknowledge that now that we have observed your potential solutions and you have not had an opportunity to observe our potential solutions, that may appear as now a lopsided approach. And so we have discussed the potential way through, right? Because unfortunately we can't rewind anything that we've heard or anything that has been shared this evening. And so Darcy and I and Xander and I have talked about a potential next steps to remedy this. And so what we'd like to propose is on the 17th, which is our next session currently scheduled, the district will bring their proposed solutions aligned to the interests that we shared this evening. That way you will have more specific information as to what we will bring forth as a red line. Then after that session, we would move into our January sessions and we would bring as much redlined language as possible, potentially all of the articles of interest from both sides. We acknowledge that your articles of interest are not exactly the same as ours, and ours are not exactly the same as yours. So acknowledging that you have, I think, 15 plus some new articles, and we had, how many do we have, Jen? Not 15. We had maybe 10, maybe 11. I can't remember exactly. And so we are amenable to being able to bring as much redline language as both teams can possibly work up to by January 7th. And then we'll move forward from there in determining where are we close, where might we be able to start and get onto the same page and start finding tentative agreement opportunities. And so if that works for all of you, that is what we will move forward with. And again, I do want to apologize and again acknowledge my error in misunderstanding. And I thank you all for just being flexible and willing to work with me and teach me this way. I'm going to have to switch task all spring long with the way in which I engage in negotiations, but I can do it.
We believe in you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So for our remainder of this evening, we wanted to, I just realized I didn't restart our recording that I was working on, that I was hoping our AI was going to be helping us with. And so we may need to identify a joint communication. And we want to set the agenda for the 17th.
I just want to confirm that you did get the document with our, excellent, thank you, Jen.
Did you also receive our, okay.
Xander says yes for those of you in the nethers.
Right? Okay, so with regard to joint communication, how have you typically written a joint communication in the past or agreed to a joint communication?
And our concern is the Team Jeffco intranet. The joint communication we've done in the past is just making sure that we agree that what happened in this room, we agree. It was very high level executive summary. We met and we discussed Article 16, period. I mean, it was just that kind of brief.
And is that what you're asking to continue, or would you like it to be more, would you like there to be more detail? Or do you want to talk about that?
I mean, can we talk about interest in developing a joint communication? I mean, we communicate with our members every week, so we're going to communicate what happened at these sessions. We don't want to be, beholden to, one communication from both teams and that be the only communication. So I think, we're open to having a kind of what Darcy was talking about, kind of just doing a, this is what happened, this is what we discussed, high level stuff. If that's okay with you, but then, still.
We never had a history of it, just so you know, before, I don't know, 6 months ago, whenever that was.
You never had a history of a joint communication? Was there always something posted to what you just described around, we discussed Article 16?
So this was proposed last year, and we realized halfway through, and we realized that the joint communication wasn't even communicated. So this is brand new, really. So if this is an interest of yours, then we're fine. But I don't know if we necessarily we don't need that. But if it's an interest of the district, we can do that. That's fine.
I mean, the reason that we like a joint communication is so that we have a almost like an agreed upon written record of what happened or what was shared without our intent. We used to have a note taker that would take the notes in my other life that I live. A note taker takes the notes and then we review it together. And the whole intent is for it not to be subjective, right? Or adding in opinions. It just says, JESPA shared Article 16, their interest included X, Y, Z. And it didn't have any their interest included this because they really love hugs and bubbles when walking down the hallway and think it should be across all schools. That's not, we tried not to get too specific, just so that people have a written record. They can always watch it back too.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
But we're not going to agree to have that be the only communication.
Oh, of course.
We send out.
That's okay. I mean, you have the right to communicate with your members, but it would be ideal if we could post something on the website for people who aren't JESPA members or aren't JESPA affiliated at all and are just curious about what is going on.
So how do we want to do that? Do we want it to be kind of after every session we get together and just type up a couple paragraphs, or
So
what does it look like?
we can either try the AI system when I remember to hit record, or we can have a note taker. We are open to either one. We can try the AI first, if you'd like.
I think it would probably add in subjective.
The AI part or the
Yeah,
note taker?
the AI would add in any subjective discussion to the summary. So I almost think we could use the agenda that you proposed because we followed it. Here's what we did, and just almost replicate that with anything else we've added, just to keep it easy. And just revisit it at the end of each session. Like, did we do these things? And then put out what we actually did.
Okay.
Is it something we want to do while we're online, or do we want to log off and then do it?
Because that's an interesting question, and I appreciate it because no one else can see it except for those of us sitting at the table, right? We don't put we typically wouldn't put the joint communication up on the screen for people to review. We can. I mean, I kind of think it could be done offline, especially since we're going to post it anyway, but
I thought we did it. I thought we did it on the screen last year.
Okay.
I just typed it up and it was very brief. So it only actually took a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it? Am I right, Mark? Yeah.
And it was just the agenda was the outline, and maybe a sentence was added to it, but the other things in the agenda that were, and I'm just going to pull up the agenda for this time. 1, introductions. 2, norms and process. And then the things that were underneath that were completely eliminated. So it was very 2 or 3 different bullet points, if you will. And that's what happened.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's pretty quick to do here.
Sounds good. If we came to any agreements, were those documented? As far as like, we agreed on the following norms and we just like put the norms in there. Would that be okay?
We can do that.
Okay. Sounds good.
One more question. Where is this going to be communicated?
I think you had it written somewhere on the Jeffco team intranet. There's a there is a place on the intranet that we have thank you, Jen. Please do.
I can answer that. So we'll put that on our collective bargaining agreement or negotiations webpage. That's posted on our Team Jeffco intranet, as well as, I believe, it's just on the Team Jeffco intranet. And then it will just be right underneath the JESPA negotiations, and we'll just say a summary, and it will be a running log of the summaries. And it will just be a useful document for not only those that are members or non-members, but also for our leaders who are not, watching every week.
Okay, thank you.
Darcy, before we move on, I forgot one of the things we wanted to follow back up on was a shared folder. Did your team need more time to think about that possibility?
We're willing to give it a try.
Okay. And
Teams with
Teams?
Word, and
Sounds
we're willing
good.
to give it a try.
All right. Jen will create it. Sounds great. We may need a training on how to upload documents because it took me a few minutes to remember how to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe Jen can just give us a quick demo next time.
And the only question then is, whatever we're presenting, we'll present and then put in the shared folder, not putting it in ahead of time. Let's present and then put that in there. That's the only clarification we had, if that's going to be acceptable.
Yeah. So are you okay not seeing it on your computers while we are presenting it? Is that okay? Okay. I guess you could always log into the Microsoft Teams too and observe it. Never mind.
We're fine seeing it there, and then it'll be there for when we go to caucus on the Teams.
Sounds good. Do we want to set the agenda for next time?
Do we want to come up with a joint communication first?
Sure. Yes.
That's number 4 on the agenda.
So we did decide we are going to do it online. Jen, can you project it? Thank you. Darcy, are you okay with me just copying and pasting the entire agenda down below to a joint communication section, and then we'll just edit from there?
Edit from there. I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay.
This was just a draft that I came up with originally. It's just a Google Doc, but we can move it to Microsoft Word. It will just be a running document, and we'll just start from December 3rd, and we'll just work our way up. But we're willing to change this in any way that you would like.
I think that'll be fine if you want to keep it all on one document or do separate ones for either message, either meeting, that your preference. And let's lean into Word.
Okay, so I copied and pasted the agenda onto this document. And we can edit off of here.
Keep turning mine off and on. I don't know why I'm doing that. So yeah, we can leave 2 as it is, or you could just make it a sentence on discuss norms and process, including items such as, and just make it a sentence instead of bullet points. It's just a suggestion. If you prefer bullet points, we're fine with that too. But if this is going to be a document, let's.
Xander, the norms, can we copy and paste them in here? I can share this document with you too, if that would be helpful.
Yes, please.
Okay. Should I use your Jeffco or your CEA?
CEA.
Okay.
Please. So there's norms, and the process is under that too, processes.
Thank you. I will just copy and paste this. Okay, so we have the community working agreements, the shared folder, red line expectations. We shared contact. We don't need to say that we shared contact information. Okay. We'll address the shared folder. And timing norms were part of the process somewhere? Maybe not. Okay. When you share your communication, you don't actually put any of the links to the articles, the red lines, like none of that goes out publicly, right? It's all just within your team and your membership that's working on articles and such. I just want to make sure, like, we don't need me to put any of like the interest statements in here.
No.
Okay.
No, we'll share that.
Okay.
Our membership.
We do have a public bargaining folder that our members have access to.
Sure.
So you could post it if you wanted to, but we publicize it.
Yeah, I'm not intending to put any links on here because for the most part, people won't have access to the links anyway, unless we open them to the world. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you're all watching me type and it's not super productive, so I apologize for that. I'm going to take this out and I just really literally rewrote this. I could have copied and pasted it. So the last thing that I would usually put in here is after a caucus and conversation, the teams returned and agreed to try a shared folder. That kind of, is that okay? Yeah, okay.
You're on the right path. Keep going. Type away while we all watch. Folder, concept, process, your word. Go with your gut, it's usually right.
Are you okay with me putting in here the acknowledgement that I shared when we first came back from the caucus with regard to us failing to share our potential solutions? Or would that be, or do you feel that would be unnecessary?
I feel it would be unnecessary because it's already been addressed in the previous sentences.
All right, I'll fix the formatting. Is there anything else in here that you would like us to include as part of the joint communication?
I think it's already going way above and beyond what we did last year, so good.
Okay, great. And I don't think we'll always have, obviously we won't always have the norm, so it probably won't always be this long. But Jen will fix the the formatting, and then we will make sure it is posted. And so our final topic is agenda setting for December 17th.
So we had discussed perhaps shortening that session from 4 hours to 2 hours. I wanted to have that be public, 2 to 4 instead of 12 to 4. Would that be agreeable?
Yeah, if that works best for your team, that works for us. Great.
Okay, 2 to 4. And then, so listening to the district's proposed solutions, and then having a chance to ask some clarifying questions back and forth before we get into language then for the coming January. That's what I thought we discussed. I just wanted to make sure that we said that to make it clear.
Does that make sense? Oh, you're not, sorry. Jen's not back on that document. You're watching, I'm typing, I swear. Jen, will you, I typed thank you. I typed it at the very bottom of our agenda that we were looking at. Perfect. So time adjustment 2 to 4, and then we will, the district will share their potential solutions, and then we'll have the question time from each side for each team. And then we'll set the agenda for January 7th. Sound good? Oh, I'm sorry. We also said that we would review the draft procedures document that we brought up and showed. Do you know what I'm talking about as we were going through? Okay.
Maybe let's do that first.
Perfect. And then we'll set the agenda, and then we'll be done for real.
Do we have time to do that this evening?
Set the agenda for?
No, the draft procedures document?
I mean, we could. Jen, do you have that? I think she started one. It would be a lot of you sitting and watching us type again, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would need some time to review that. So let's wait so we can do a little work away from the table.
Do you want us to send it to you ahead of time? That's what I thought.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And I think there's still some old stuff in there, like it said something specific about an article that you reviewed previously. And so we'll adjust that and send it over to you.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else, Darcy? Oh. Maybe generate review draft process document. And otherwise it sounds like we're drafting a process document.
Yeah, the only clarification then would be then on 5, the agenda setting then for the January meeting. And I don't have the date for that. I'm sorry, Jen.
January 7th. It is the first day back. Actually, I should ask you that. It's the first day back with students. And we have an 8 to 12 session scheduled for that day. Is that okay with all? I know it's not okay with all of you. Do you want us to revisit that timing?
We've already asked for the release time, so.
Okay. We're okay with it, obviously. You know, we have a little bit more flexibility. We don't work in buildings every single day. So we apologize to your students ahead of time. All right, if we're good with that agenda, then I think we can close for the evening.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Brandon, for working the buttons. Thank you all for tuning in and for joining us in person. We appreciate it.